Hi. So the day 10 of the Wimbledon Championship is over, and with this we have come to the conclusion of all the quarterfinal matches in this year's Wimbledon Championship, and that covers both men and the ladies section. As you know, the quarterfinals are played over 2 days at Wimbledon. On the day 9, there are two quarterfinals featuring the top half of the ladies section of the draw, and two quarterfinals featuring the bottom half of the men's draw. Whereas on the day 10, the order reverses. We had two quarterfinals from the top half of the men's draw and two quarterfinals from the bottom half of the ladies draw. Now yesterday the two quarterfinals in the men's section coming out from the bottom half of the draw were Carlos Alcaraz, number 2 seed from Spain, who would be playing against number 5 seed Taylor Fritz from US. Whereas the two semi-finalists that came out from the top half of the ladies draw were number 1 seed Arina Sabalenka of Belarus, who would be playing against number 13 seed Anisimova of Russia. Whereas on day 10, that is today, the two semi-finals that have come out from the men's section, that is the top half of the men's section or the men's draw, are Yannick Sinner, the number 1 seed, who would be now playing the number 6 seed, the legend, the 7-time Australian Open champion, 38-year-old Novak Djokovic. Now Sinner played his quarterfinal against the dangerous and tricky Ben Shelton, the number 10 seed. It was expected to be a tough contest, but this match also turned out to be as one-sided as the last few matches between Yannick Sinner and Ben Shelton at different contests in the last 2 years, because Yannick Sinner was coming on the back of a 12 straight set winning streak against Shelton, and today was no different. He stretched that record to 15. Now there have been 15 sets Shelton have lost to Yannick Sinner without winning a single one. And in the first set, Shelton tried to match Yannick Sinner with his tennis and with his bazooka serve, because his service is his biggest weapon, and he extended the set to the tie break. But once Sinner reached the tie break and won it convincingly, then there was no looking back for Sinner, and Shelton could not match because there were too many unforced errors at crucial junctures, and Sinner is not going to spare you the kind of form he is in. So he really punished Shelton and won it convincingly, 7-6, 6-4, 6-4 to reach the semi-final. And the kind of tennis he has been playing, he is looking very impressive. Of course, he looked a little undeserving winner in the earlier round, that is in the fourth round, when he won that match against Dimitrov, actually without being actually in a winning position, because he was actually in a losing position after losing the first two sets, and Dimitrov was in full command. But that's where the pectoralis injury hurt Dimitrov, and he was completely immobile and he could not continue the match. And so from a winning position he had to surrender the match and he had to retire hurt, and that made Sinner's win a little shallow and lame. So he wanted to really make a big statement in today's match in the quarterfinal, wanted to really move on from that undeserving win against Dimitrov, and wanted the attention to be back on his tennis, and he wanted to show that he really means business this time and he wants to go all the way. And his clinical performance, his brilliant performance, his flawless tennis in that quarterfinal against Shelton has achieved what he wanted to do and what he wanted to achieve. So he has not only reached the semi-final, now he has given a complete statement to the world that yes, he has the tennis to go all the way. Now in the semi-final he is going to play Djokovic, who had stopped him from reaching the final last time he had reached the semi-final, and he would be careful of the legend, because once Djokovic reaches the business end of a tournament, he doesn't let go of it. He knows how to win the big matches, and he has the talent and he has the pedigree, and 38 years old is just a number. He doesn't let that get reflected on him, so he would be really dangerous in the semi-final. In the quarter-final though, he had a massive scare, because Flavio Cobolli, the 22-year-old, the 22 seed, the 23-year-old 22 number seed from Italy, gave him a real scare. He won the first set tiebreak against the 7-time Australian Open Wimbledon champion, and he really was threatening him with his fantastic service and ground strokes. But then Djokovic is Djokovic. Once he's cornered, once he's pushed to the limit, he manages to bring out his A game and somehow wins the matches. Today, though, it was not actually his A game which helped him. He was still struggling. It was not a really fantastic or a flawless tennis. He was solid. He has a decent ground strokes, which is his strong point, and he has pretty effective service without being the fastest. He knows his angles. He knows how to place his service, how to vary the direction and also the pace to create problem for his opponents. So there he managed to follow his basics well and won. But the biggest reason for Koboli to lose was his unforced errors. He almost committed nearly 50 unforced errors, and once you commit so many unforced errors against one of the greatest players the tennis world has seen, you have no escape route. And Djokovic then strangulated him and punished him and then won it in 4 sets. So the match extended up to 3 hours 11 minutes, which would be really welcome news for Sinner, because Sinner himself is nursing an elbow injury. He's trying to play it down so that the opponents won't get any psychological advantage, but it was clear that he was getting troubled by that injury. So the fact that Djokovic had an extended run in the quarterfinal, and he was extended and he was adjusted a little bit by being pushed into playing for 3 hours 11 minutes by a fellow countryman of Sinner, that is Koboli, would have actually pleased Sinner, because now Sinner would have slightly adjusted Djokovic with a little weary body at the age of 38. So he couldn't have asked for anything better. So that would perhaps balance the match a little bit, considering the injury Sinner has. So though Sinner as the world number one and as per his overall tennis looks the favorite, but Djokovic is a legend, and Djokovic knows how to win the big tournaments. So you cannot rule out Djokovic's chances in the semi-final. It will be a fabulous semi-final. Now coming to the ladies section, it was the turn of the bottom half of the draw, but since most of the seeds have been already knocked out, so it was a very strange kind of a quarterfinal. The topmost seed in the bottom half of the draw was world number 4 but number 8 in this tournament, that is Iga Swiatek, who was playing against number 13 seed Ludmila Samsonova. Many people had predicted a tough contest, a tight contest, because Swiatek's favorite surface is never grass, and Samsonova has been looking pretty impressive coming into this quarterfinal. But then this year has been different for Swiatek. She has really improved. Though there was time when she was number 1 and she held the number 1 ranking for almost 125 weeks, and during that period she has also won 5 majors, that includes 4 French Open and 1 US Open titles. But this year, even with a slightly slipping ranking of number 4, she has been much better in terms of her consistency. Though she has not won a Grand Slam this year, but she has been the most consistent in this year than in any other year, because she has reached quarterfinal or beyond in all the Grand Slams she has played this year, which had never happened to her earlier. So in every Grand Slam, her tennis has improved, her performance has improved, her game has improved, and she is now looking much more solid, much more consistent, much more clinical. It was evident in French Open, it was evident in Australian Open, and it was evident today also. And she had fantastic ground strokes, she had fantastic comfort factor on the grass. She also was very clinical with her service, and she was creating all sorts of trouble, and she didn't give Samsonova any chance. She won it convincingly 6-2, 7-5 to reach the semi-final. And in the semi-final she is going to play an unseeded player, Belinda Bencic, who has been the real success story of this Wimbledon, has been the really fairy tale story for this Wimbledon. What a fabulous story Belinda Bencic has. Today she played the number 7 seed, the formidable 18-year-old Andreeva, that is Mira Andreeva of Russia, who is considered as the future of women's tennis, because she has been fabulous, she has been formidable, she has been impressive, and she has been looking really a powerhouse. She has been looking like a powerhouse of tennis who can beat anybody on her day. But then Bencic once again managed to beat her and reach the semi-final now, and it is her first ever semi-final in life at Wimbledon. And what a story she has been having. She made her debut just like her opponent today at the age of 17, and then she had a beautiful start to it, a promising start to it. She was considered as the next Martina Hingis when she came in from Switzerland, but then from 2016 to 2018 she was ravaged by injuries. She suffered immensely. She had to go on and off to the tennis court and has to miss many tournaments, and finally she suffered so much that her ranking was pushed below 300, and then it looked as if her career was finished. Then came 2019, and somehow with a little better body and after taking care of her injuries she came back, and what a comeback it was. She not only played better, she played much better than even at the time when she was at the peak of her career when making her debut. She reached the semi-final of the US Open. She managed a ranking or a seeding of number 7 and finally ended the year within number 10, which was so fantastic, coming with a ranking of 300 the previous year. She managed to reach number 8 at the year end. She also qualified for the WTA Tour event, final event in the year end, and also managed to reach the semi-final. That made her win the comeback player of the year from WTA that year. And she went further one step in 2020 by actually reaching number 4 in the world ranking in the middle of the year, and then went further better in 2021 by winning the singles gold in ladies section at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which was held in 2021. So everything looked great and promising, and she was on a track to reach for the sky and achieve much more glory. And that's where in 2023 she had a really heartbreak coming her way, because she was up 2 match points against Iga Swiatek, which she is going to play in the semi-final again tomorrow. And that time somehow the pressure got to her. She blew up those 2 match points, and Swiatek escaped with a win to reach the quarterfinal. And that affected her, and then subsequently her injuries again came back, and then she also decided to go for a kid. So 2024 became another nightmare year for her so far as her tennis is concerned. It was a fantastic year because she delivered her child Bella in April 2024, and it was the best moment for her life when she delivered the child. But then she had to be away from tennis, and that's where the ranking got a hit. She ended 2024 at the ranking of 913, and then she decided to again make a comeback in January 2025 on the back of that ranking. And by the time she entered the Wimbledon, her ranking has now become 35 at the start of this Wimbledon. Just imagine coming from 913 to reach 35. What kind of dream comeback she has made, what kind of performance she has been giving, what a talent she is. And now she has reached not only quarterfinal, she has taken care of all the heartbreaks she had after losing that match with match points against Swiatek. She has gone one step ahead also this time. She has reached the semi-final, and she has got a chance to avenge that heartbreaking loss against Swiatek when she plays the semi-final tomorrow. And by reaching the semi-final, she would be now coming very close to getting a ranking of maybe 20 or 20 plus when the new ranking comes out on Monday. So that would be a really fairy tale journey for her in 2025, considering her ranking was just 913 at the beginning of the year. So again, her fairy tale journey goes on, continues, and hopefully she will again do further damage in this year and go further deep end of the Wimbledon Championship. Who knows, maybe the final or maybe the crown. That would be a really icing on the cake for her. So a great story for Bencic, and it's time for everybody to rejoice that, celebrate that. Even if you're a neutral fan, you should do that, because not every day you get this kind of fairy tale comeback from any player in a competitive sport like tennis. So yes, so now we have got all the semi-final lists ready. It would be now in the men's section, it would be Sinner versus Djokovic and Alcaraz versus Fritz, and in the women's section it would be Sabalenka versus Anisimova, and then Swiatek versus Bencic. So the ladies semi-finals will be tomorrow. We will be closely following it to see who will be the 2 finalists who will be playing the final, and who among them could be going on to win their first ever Wimbledon final and one Wimbledon crown, because all the four, whichever two will be reaching the final, and whoever is going to win will be winning it for the first time. Whereas on the Friday, the semi-final will be from the men's section, and it will be two blockbuster semi-final lineups that are there, because Fridge has improved drastically and now is looking formidable, and Alcaraz is the man to beat at Wimbledon and Graz this year. And in the other section, Sinner is going to get a chance to avenge his loss against Djokovic, and he's playing flawless tennis except for that match against Dimitrov. And Djokovic is Djokovic, the legend. He knows how to win the tournaments and the crowns, so you can't rule him out also. So two blockbuster semi-finals in ladies as well as in men's section are assured in the next 2 days. So we can find out about the ladies tomorrow only. For that we have to wait and watch. Thank you.